Hello, my name is Mercedes Hendley. I'm 24 years old and I'm really excited to be applying to the Tulane 2022 to 2023 Dietetic Internship. I currently live in Gilroy, California. It's in the lower part of Northern California, but I've also lived in other parts of Northern California and a town in Ohio. I went to two different community colleges before I completed my bachelor's degree in nutrition at California State University, Sacramento, in California's capital. I have a couple of hobbies. The first is definitely going to be cooking. I love cooking. I think it's a really good way to kind of make your way around the world without having to leave your home. So it's really good insight into other cultures. I practice a lot of Asian food and I'm Mexican, so I cook Mexican food as well. But I like to dabble in other things. I would love to dabble in Creole or Cajun food more. And of course, going to your program would give me that opportunity. I also really like hiking. I like exercise in general, and I like true crime shows, and I also really like live events. Unfortunately, they're not very popular here. They're not very common, so consider it a blessing to have that where you live. I would say there's a couple of things that distinguish me from other candidates, and the first would be that I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish. The second is that I think I have a good amount of experience in community nutrition. I've done a couple of internships that always tie in community nutrition, either through nutrition education or outreach, things like that. And hopefully by the time you're watching this, I will already be a WIC employee. I'm currently waiting for them to complete my background check. The program is so alluring because it just seems very well-rounded. I reviewed the PowerPoint, the virtual tour on the website. I have also heard the director Marcia speak at the NDEP program fair in the fall. And I have been in contact with a current intern. So all of those things allowed me to get a feel for what the program would be like, and it just seems really well-rounded. I really like that there's so many rotations because it's going to expose me to the broad spectrum of what dietetics is. See, things are fit into community, food service, and clinical, but after looking at the rotations and actually speaking with the intern, I kind of got the feel that some of those rotations don't fit picture perfect into those sections. And that is actually really a good thing because now I know that those job opportunities exist and that clinical doesn't look like just being in a hospital, or really more like community. Community doesn't look like just working for WIC or just working at the food pantry. It includes, it can be overlapped with food service or clinical. So those are the things that I'm excited about. Of course, I'm also interested in Tulane because of the community emphasis. That's something that really pulls at me. And then, like I was saying earlier, I love the location. When I think of New Orleans, to me it epitomizes the US, or what we think of the US, which would just be a melting pot of cultures and race and cuisine, and progressive thinking, at least in the form of like food as medicine and maybe school gardens, things like that. Another reason why I want to go to the Tulane program is because of Marcia, actually. I don't know her personally, but after hearing her speak at the NDEP program fair and emailing with her a little bit back and forth and hearing about her through a past intern, I'm getting a feel that she's a really helpful, caring director. And I know that the director isn't there to kind of hold our hand through every little step, but I think having somebody at the top that has a positive attitude and care and consideration for her interns would really make the experience the best it could be. As far as what I want to gain from the experience, I really just want it to help me gain clarity on what I want to do when I'm done. So I know that I want to work making culturally traditional foods more healthy. That way people don't have to abandon what they eat or have that inner conflict, like I should be eating this and not this, because I think food is so strongly tied to who we are and what we know and our culture and our family, that I don't want people to have to abandon it. And I think that's something that people experience maybe when they speak to some dietitians. So I want to be part of kind of just adjusting culturally traditional foods. That being said, I don't know exactly in what setting I would be doing that in. So I'm hoping going through lots of these rotations would kind of clarify to me where I can work. I want to be a dietitian because I want to be part of the health profession that allows a lot of the control to remain in the client's hands and to remain kind of holistic. I think as a country, we kind of get caught up in relying on pharmaceuticals, and I definitely think they can be necessary, but sometimes it's necessary to just adjust the diet, and it's up to us as the professionals to bring our health knowledge, our food knowledge, and for a lot of us, some culinary knowledge to help those people, like the clients, make the changes in a way that they feel like are doable. That's not gonna really fight who they are as much if we just make small changes to what they eat and what they love. In 5 years, I see myself working somewhere within that space. I'm not exactly sure. That's why I want to do the program. I think it'll be somewhere in community nutrition, or maybe even food service, like school food service director. So the last time I remember feeling uncomfortable in a work situation, I was 19, so this was 5 years ago. And basically what happened was I was a server, and every Friday we would have a server manager meeting. And during this particular meeting, this is my first week working there, and one of the servers was having what should have been a private conversation with the manager, and they were bickering back and forth, and it was making the room really tense. And the manager wanted to continue the talk in private. We all wanted them to continue the talk in private. And so I butted in and I said something like, "Can we continue on with the meeting?" or something like that. And the server that was arguing with the manager told me to shut up. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it was to me at the time. I remembered it. I never forgot it, obviously, but even a year after that happened, other servers or other coworkers reminded me of it. So it was pretty embarrassing at the time. I felt like I had been disrespected publicly, or at least in front of my coworkers. But I was mostly upset with myself because I never went back and told her that that wasn't okay. I didn't say anything then. I didn't say anything later. So, I'm bringing up a story from years ago because that was, the last time that this happened. Because from then on, I really set boundaries on what I would and would not accept. If I was made to feel uncomfortable in an internship, I would handle it differently depending on the situation. So if I felt slighted or unheard or something small like that, I would just directly confront the person that's making me feel that way. Probably in private, or right in that moment, depending on the situation. And oftentimes things are just a miscommunication. Maybe they didn't know that that was offensive, or that I took it that way, or maybe they didn't mean it that way, or, and it can just be handled right then. However, if the problem is too complex, or it didn't get handled in that first situation, then I would take it to either the preceptor, or if the problem's with the preceptor, then I would take it to the director, Marcia. I have a very standard way of preparing for all my exams, and basically that is I write everything out. I do it once, and then I do it again, and then I might even do it a third time. And then as I'm doing it that last time, I'm probably taking breaks in between and talking to the wall, pretending like I'm lecturing another student. Talking it out loud kind of really helps solidify it in my brain. And then if I'm lucky enough to have a study guide, I will write on the study guide anything that relates to whatever each bullet is. So fortunately for me, I don't feel like I've been in many situations where I was treated unfairly. So I'm gonna bring up something that we can all probably relate to, and it's basically having to do more work than my share. As an example, I was put on a team of 3 in my medical nutrition therapy class to complete a research paper and a case study all in one on diabetes mellitus 1. We, as a team, divvied up who would do what sections, and then throughout the semester we were supposed to meet and kind of talk about, how far we are, if we have any questions, so on and so forth. One of the team members wasn't able to meet. Now, she was a student athlete, so she did have trouble with her schedule, but she really didn't meet with us very often, and then she didn't complete her sections. She did them, but she didn't complete them. And so I tried to communicate with her and kind of tell her, look, you're missing this, or you didn't cite, or this doesn't really make sense, or it doesn't cover the whole topic. And she did some adjusting, but not really. So I ended up making the decision to just complete the rest of the section as the deadline was fast approaching, because I didn't want my grade to suffer. My grade was more important than being stubborn about us all having equal work. So I just bit the bullet on that one. And that has happened multiple times. I'm sure it's happened to you, and it's unfair in the fact that I had to do more work, but really it's not that unfair because we were all put in the position of having to work with people that we may not work well with. But I understand the necessity of having to have people learn to work in teams, because we all need those skills. So I am better at working on a few things. At one point I was an intern at my university, so I had 2 presentations to do with 2 different groups of people. Then I had a case study, and then I had my regular homework, and then I had my job. So there was a lot going on, and particularly that week, having the 2 presentations and the case study to do was a lot. And then to top it off with those other things. So had I had maybe 1 presentation less, I think I would have been perfect, because then I would have been able to rotate through the different assignments and keep my mind kind of fresh. So like I was saying earlier, I was an intern in the peer health educator program at my university. And one of the things that we did was we created a campaign called the Hornet Cook-Off. And it was basically to incentivize students to practice cooking in the early months of quarantine. So what they would do is every week they would post either a breakfast, lunch, or dinner photo of a home-cooked meal and the recipe for it. And they would tag us, and then our followers would vote on which had the best meal. And then they would win a prize, the person with the most votes. Before all that happened, we had to decide on the criteria. So one of the things that came up is whether or not we should make one of the criteria that it is a balanced meal, meaning it has a certain amount of whole grains, certain types of protein, or a certain amount of protein, fruits and vegetables, yada, yada, yada. I felt like that was a really good idea. I thought as the health program, the nutrition cohort of the program, we should be pushing for balanced meals, for healthy meals. Other people felt like no, that's not a good idea. It's going to deter people from participating because they're going to feel like it's just too many things that they have to meet. And we really want people to participate. So in the end, it was decided that we would not include that criteria. We would just include, you know, one type of food that they'd have to include. So like rice or milk or something like that in each meal. And I didn't agree, but I had already stated my opinion. And that was that. We ran the campaign, and in the end, I totally agreed with them. I felt like they, you know, the best decision was made, that it was good that we didn't include the more detailed criteria, because I really think it would have affected how many people participated and how excited people were. So yeah, so that is it. Thank you so much for listening to me and taking the time to watch my video. I'm really excited to be applying to your program, and I hope this gave you an idea kind of who I am and what I'm like. Okay, have a good day. I know that I want to